Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the stream. Tonight we're going to be unleashing some cat on the legal system to see how well they do, to show that they are safe and reliable even in a courtroom setting. Before we get into that, though, let's check on the observation cams here. Only have Weasley visible. Let's zoom in a little bit. This guy is running about being a nuisance right now. He doesn't feel like he's getting sufficient attention, and he expresses that through destruction. He's the sort of cat that'll look you in the eye and then fling something off of a shelf. The only defense in that is to not make eye contact. If you don't make eye contact and you don't react to it, he gets pouty. But as soon as you make eye contact, he'll throw things. But yes, we're going to be continuing our playthrough of Phoenix Wright. Our goal this week is to finish the 4th episode. If we do that, we might peek into the next one, but that might end up being a short stream, or we may switch to something else in the midst of it. The goal next week is to switch to a more varied schedule so that we get a little bit, we get some different games throughout the week. I think that'll be more entertaining for you folks and less draining for me. But with that said, let's get into the game here. Buttons. Extra metal right now. What's going on? Oh, that's right. I have a button. There we go. So far, it is the only game that I need to manually tune the sound for. There we go. Back into this. We hit a roadblock last time that was just so frustrating. It was the first time that I can recall that the new text option for a conversation was added to the top of the list. And for whatever reason, I just couldn't see it up there. So we ran in circles a bit. So we had just gotten to the first trial stage here. I'm going to try to continue doing the voices. I have determined that doing too much of that wrecks my throat a little bit. Adrian did it? That's what it looks like. Dude, no way. That woman couldn't do anything like that. In court today, there will be a mountain of evidence that will implicate you. A mountain of evidence? I'm certain there is someone out there trying very hard to pin this whole thing on you. Please, Mr. Lawyer. Dude, like I said yesterday, I'm refreshing like a spring breeze, right? Edgeworth commented on that. Refreshing like a spring breeze? What's so refreshing about the, what was it, the breeze during spring season? And I think Phoenix's comment was something about the pollen not being very good to him. I can't let any sort of scandal ruin that. I understand. Well, it's almost time. That is Pearl channeling Mia, which means she goes to from a tiny, cute little girl into this. We must get a complete acquittal today. I know, but I can't focus on Maya's situation right now. Maya has been kidnapped and will only be released if we get a complete acquittal. Or Pearl's either. No matter what, I have to focus on winning this case by the end of the day. Indeed. Well, let's get going. Beep, beep, beep. There's the transceiver that the kidnapper had given to us. Beep. This is Wright. Good morning. This is it, Mr. Attorney. The day of the trial. Maya, she's unharmed, right? Well, when I checked on her earlier this morning, she seemed a bit, how shall we say, tired. Don't worry. People don't die that easily. Besides, what you really should be concentrating on is winning today's trial. Hey there, Tass. Welcome aboard. Grr and such. For my sake, as well as yours, you must win today's trial. Oh, it's been a day. I started some new exercises today, and there is pain. Which is why I sent you a little present this morning. Present? What in the world would you want to give me? One of Maya's fingers. You'll figure it out once the trial starts. And even if you don't like my gift, I expect you to graciously accept it and win the day's contest, if you please. Yeah, I did, Tess. Tried out some of the stuff from that video. Definitely need to pick a spot to try it with more room. I also determined that when I'm done with it, it needs to be placed in a high location because one end of it is already punctured and sliced in several places. Wait. Beep. And the kidnapper hangs up on us. The kidnapper sent me a present? Mr. Lawyer Dude? Who was that? No one. It has nothing to do with you, so forget you heard anything. I don't think that'll be very hard for this guy. I don't think a lot sticks between those ears. Dude, did your nose just get longer? Pinocchio reference, I guess. It strikes me that even that sort of reference would not be coming out of that man. Yeah, all of the characters in the Phoenix Wright series are very emphatic individuals, maybe? Very definite in who they are. Court is now in session for the trial of Matt on guard. Are the prosecution and defense ready? The defense is ready, Your Honor. But apparently Lady Whip is not present. I say, Mr. Wright, what happened to Miss Von Karma? I don't know, Your Honor. Why are you getting mad at me? Your Honor. Please be quiet, bailiff. Court is in session. You must tell me something. Please keep it brief. Now then, what is it? Prosecutor Von Karma has... This morning, Miss Von Karma was shot by an unknown gunman. Well, I guess that's that's one way for the kidnapper to help us win this case. You know? Just remove the prosecutor for a bit. What? Shot? Somehow, I think this is the present that man was talking about. His present? Miss Von Karma is one of the top prosecutors in the country at the moment. If she were to disappear, it would be to your advantage. Yeah, she totally pulled the bullet out and bound her wounds with her whip. Miss Von Karma, is she alright? I don't have that answer. She's alive and in stable condition. That's good. You're... I thought he'd be here. Edgeworth. Your Honor. Due to the circumstances, Miss Franziska von Karma cannot appear in court today. I, Miles Edgeworth, will be taking her place. The prosecution is ready, naturally. This guy is still in troublemaker mode. You can just see him entering camera now. He's trying to decide if he wants to lay down there. There's a bit of a... the blanket that's up there is, it's a little bit in the way, I think. Which is really unfortunate. Miss Von Karma was shot in her right shoulder and is currently undergoing surgery. This guy is pretty nimble. He's fluffier than he is pudgy, so his looks are deceiving as far as his agility. Luckily, I've looked this case over and am familiar with the details. The prosecution seeks to prove the guilt of Mr. Matt Ungard. The court acknowledges the prosecution. Right. I finally found the answer I was struggling for on my long journey this past year. By the time this case comes to an end, you, too, will know the answer. Now then, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. Please bring Detective Gumshoe to the witness stand. Witness, your name and occupation. My name's Dick Gumshoe, sir. I'm a detective down at the precinct. For now. For now? After this trial's over, I'm supposed to turn in my badge, sir. Detective Gumshoe? The prosecution has no need for a depressed witness. Lift your head up and face forward like a proud officer, Detective Dick Gumshoe. Yes, sir. Now then, let's have your testimony. If we want to explore the various facets of this case, we must start with that. Get ready, Phoenix. This is going to be one very rough fight. Yeah, it would have to be with Edgeworth as my opponent. The answer he was struggling for. Interesting. Show me this answer you finally found, Edgeworth. The whole vibe of these kind of face-offs with some of the attorneys really reminds me of things like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime and the like, where there's a big psychological drama happening behind the trappings of something completely, pretty much unrelated. It's like, another one would be the pilots in Gundam Wing, in similar Gundam shows, where in the middle of a very intense firefight, they're waxing really eloquent about some high philosophical topic. Over the radio, no less, like with their opponent. Bare facts of the case. This murder happened after the Hero of Heroes award ceremony, sir. The victim, Juan Corrido, was found dead in his hotel room. After looking into the cause of death, we believe he was definitely murdered, sir. Definitely. At first, we thought there was something suspicious about the empty guitar case. However, we later found out that that the guitar case had nothing to do with the murder. After the award ceremony ended, the victim was alone in his room? Yes, sir. Both the victim and defendant went alone to their rooms, sir. I see. Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. I'm gonna plonk down a save here, so that we aren't set back all this way. Must question everything. Would you please give us a brief timeline of what happened after the ceremony? Okay, pal. The ceremony started at 6 p.m. It ended around 8 p.m. And there was a short break. And then there was a short break. A special post-ceremony show was supposed to start in the lobby 30 minutes later. And that's when the victim's body was found, correct? Which is to say, the murder occurred during that 30-minute break period. Please continue with your testimony, Detective. The victim... The person who discovered the victim's body was Adrian Andrews, correct? Yeah. Who is this Adrian Andrews you're talking about? She's the defendant, Matt Ungard's manager. She's a real pretty lady, sir. Ah, so she's a pretty lady. I wonder if she will grace us with her presence. Very professional, Judge. When the post-ceremony show was about to start, we went to get Mr. Ungard. After visiting his room, she went to the victim's room to get him for the show, sir. I see, and that's when she found the victim's body. Definitely murdered. The cause of death. Wasn't that because Mr. Kurita was stabbed in the chest? Only a careless amateur would believe something so brainless as that, pal. Take a good hard look at the crime photo. Now, a real pro's attention would be drawn here, to this bandana. Banana? His bandana, sir. That's the thing wrapped tightly around his neck, sir. Ah, yes, I see. His banana-scented bandana. Then what about the knife? It seems to have been stuck in the victim's chest on purpose after his death. We have a crafty murderer on our hands here. Strangled with a scarf, then stabbed with a knife. At first, we thought there was something suspicious about the empty guitar case. And why did you think that? Because it was empty, pal. The Jammin' Ninja doesn't go anywhere without his bright red guitar. And we couldn't find it anywhere at the scene of the crime. Oh, then how about this theory? A fan really wanted the guitar and did the crime to get it. How's that? We thought of that too, but... The only fingerprints in the guitar case were the victims. Only the victims, huh? I see. So much for my theory, then. So we know Kurita touched it. Which makes sense, but that was the addendum. What convinced you it had nothing to do with the case? The guitar wasn't at the Gatewater Hotel that night. Well then, where was it? The bright red guitar was eventually found at the TV studio. The victim, Juan Kurita, had apparently only taken the case with him, sir. So you mean he forgot to put the guitar inside the case? Yes, sir. Even when he was on stage for the ceremony, he didn't have his guitar. So that guitar case was empty even before he got to the hotel. Yeah, that's right. So it really had nothing to do with the case after all. I believe that is enough. First, the victim was choked to death with his bandana. Then, after the victim was dead, the killer deliberately stabbed him with a knife. Not accidentally, deliberately. Which brings me to my next point. Why then did the police arrest Matt and Guard? Because there was reason enough to suspect him. Here it comes. Looks like Edgeworth's back in full swing. Very well. Detective Gumshoe, please testify about this matter. Yes, sir. Matt and Guard and Juan Carita were huge rivals with each other. They each thought the other guy was in his way. That's motive enough in my book. As for evidence, there's the Jammin' Ninja's button. It was ripped off of the ninja's costume and was found in Mr. Ungard's hakama. The defendant's fingerprints were also all over the knife. The defendant bought the knife. The defendant bought the knife for the crime, which makes this a premeditated murder. So the defendant's fingerprints were found on the knife used in the stabbing. It was sort of sticky on the handle, so the fingerprints came out pretty clearly, sir. I mean, the fact that it was bought for the murder doesn't seem plausible given that it has the Gatewater Hotel engraved on it. And there's this button. That was found in the defendant's clothes, was it? And this button is also covered in blood? Yes, and we know that the blood on it was the victim's blood, sir. What? It was ripped from the costume. It's covered in Carita's blood. All this points very clearly to the defendant, doesn't it? Yes, it most certainly does, Your Honor. Ready to give in yet, right? I'll find the hole in your argument somehow. You can press as hard as you'd like, just hurry up with your usual pointless questions. Save. Rivals. But in terms of popularity, Mr. Ungard won, did he not? Yeah. But you know what's ironic, pal? Juan Carita was always one step behind Mr. Ungard in everything. This year, it seemed like he'd finally caught up, ready for the big final showdown. But Mr. Carita lost the Grand Prix in the end. That is too bad. He must have been pretty downhearted after losing. They each thought the other guy was in his way. Wait just 1 second here. Mr. Ungard was beating Mr. Carita in the popularity polls. Well, yeah, I guess, but... Which means that in the defendant's eyes, the victim was not a rival at all. Which means he had no motive to kill at all. Mutter, mutter. Yes, I quite agree. Well, detective? It's not, well... I guess if you put it that way, then yeah, the defendant would have had no motive. Detective, I'm beginning to see why you were fired. No, not you too, Mr. Edgeworth, sir. I look forward to your pension negotiations. No. Now, detective, let's continue with the testimony. No, not my poor pension, too. I mean, if his pension is in any way related to the money that he has been getting, based on his descriptions, I don't think he's missing out on a lot. He could probably get a job in, like, part-time, retail or something like that and make Monumentally more than he has described it for his police work. Detective, if you value your money, I suggest you proceed. Yes, sir. We can talk about my pension later, sir. What about what I was saying? Hello? Anyone? As for the evidence, there's the Jammin' Ninja's button. Do you have any proof that the button belonged to the victim? Huh? What do you mean, pal? Oh, let me put it this way. I'm asking if you have any evidence to back up your claim that this button was ripped off of the Jammin' Ninja's costume. Voice. Huh? But can't you tell just by looking at it? And the victim's blood is on it. Anyone could have smeared that blood on there afterward. Mr. Edgeworth, help me, sir. Alright, I knew it had to be this piece of evidence. Now to reel this one in. Thread. Huh? The button was attached to the costume by thread, obviously. And that thread snapped when the button was torn off. If you matched up the ends of the thread on the costume with the thread on the button, it's a perfect match. Yeah, that's it. They're a perfect match, pal. Work. That's Edgeworth for you. Never misses a beat. It was ripped off of the ninja costume and was found in Mr. Enguarde's hakama. When was this button found? Pretty soon after the body was found, we rounded up everyone who knew Mr. Kurita. And then we did a search on them all. That's when we found the button. So it was almost immediately after the murder. The police didn't have the free time to lollygag and play tricks, unlike some people. What is he trying to say about me here? The defendant's fingerprints were also all over the knife. How were the fingerprints arranged on the knife? Huh? What do you mean, pal? By examining the fingerprints, you can determine how the defendant held the knife. For example, did he hold it normally or overhand? Oh, is that what you meant? Well, we didn't actually think about that. I can't believe the bumbling of this department. You should believe the bumbling of this department by now. Hopeless. Were you paying attention to the testimony, right? The defendant's fingerprints were all over the knife. There's no way to determine how the knife was held at the moment of the murder. So the defendant... So is the defendant the owner of this knife, then? The defendant bought the knife for the crime, which makes it a premeditated murder. Table thump. There's no way this was a premeditated murder, even if he bought the knife. Sorry, pal, this isn't some pocket knife. It doesn't fold, so it's not great for walking around with, either. Well, this is not good. If prosecution can prove it was a premeditated murder, we're done for. Phoenix. Yes? There's something very interesting about what the detective said just now. Think carefully before it's too late. A button covered in the victim's blood and a knife with Enguarde's fingerprints. Be grateful. If the judge were more rash, he would have already pounded his gavel in closing. We're still in a world of trouble. Well, before any battle, you must find your enemy's weakness. So let's find the weakness in this testimony, no matter how small it may be. Okay, Phoenix? His mentor was the actual lawyer. Phoenix is... largely sort of bumbles through and falls into his cases until he's on a roll. Button was ripped off the costume and was found in Kama. we're going to put down a save. I think the knife is the thing. The fact that he bought it in advance is weird, given that it is a hotel knife. Like, are they going to say they sell it as a souvenir? Maybe got the right thing? Wait a second. What? So the basis of your argument that this was a premeditated murder is simply that my client bought a knife beforehand? That's right, pal. The defendant. The defendant did not buy this knife. Huh? Take a good look at the handle of this knife, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Huh? It has a gatewater seal set into the handle. Gatewater? I think I've heard that name somewhere before. That's the name of the hotel, Gatewater Hotel, where the murder took place, where you investigated. Or you're supposed to be a, knowledgeable witness about. Uh-oh. The murder knife was actually property of the hotel, which means this murder was not premeditated. That is very true. This is a very big... Huh. What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sorry, but the defense is simply too careless. What? I think whether the crime was premeditated or not has already been determined. How so? I admit this knife is hotel property. There's no one currently on the police force that is dumb enough not to realize this. But I didn't... Oh. Oh, poor Gumshoe. The fact that he's getting fired is repeatedly rubbed into his nose here. The question is, where did this knife come from? Well, that's obvious. It came from the victim, Mr. Creda's room. Sorry, Your Honor, but that is incorrect. The victim ate a last meal before he was murdered. With that being the case, I would like to draw the court's attention to what is on top of the table. There's a knife and a fork. And some not wine. Then, where in the world did this knife come from? If it pleases the court, I would like for us to recall the room of the defendant, Mr. Matt Ungard. Especially what was on top of his table. Missing knife. There is something missing. Perhaps it is a single knife? We investigated the leftover dishes for fingerprints, and while we were investigating, we came to the conclusion that Mr. Matt Ungard's knife was missing. Ooh. Mr. Ungard had gone to the victim's room with the knife he had used during dinner. Why would he carry a knife on a visit? To kill, of course. With that, I believe the prosecution has proven that this was a premeditated murder. Amazing, Mr. Edgeworth. Absolutely brilliant. A brilliantly clear deduction. It seems like Edgeworth had this planned from the very beginning. This must be one of those traps, and I just walked headlong into it. A murder weapon with fingerprints and a button from the victim's costume. There is quite a sizable amount of evidence here. I can safely say that any further deliberation is a waste of your Honor's time. Although, I wouldn't mind if the defense were to present evidence not yet shown to the court. Evidence not yet shown? He means evidence that the court hasn't seen yet. In other words, new evidence. What does the defense have to say about this, Mr. Wright? Save. Well... Phoenix. The judge is favoring the prosecution right now. If we answer with something wrong here, that gavel of his will be ringing out to the sound of our defeat. Mr. Wright, do you have something important and necessary to this court? There's one piece of evidence that catches my attention. Something that this court has yet to see. Mr. Wright, I will say this one more time. I do not feel this trial needs to continue at all. However, I am giving you one chance, and only one. What the judge is saying, Wright, is don't try pulling one of your usual bluffs here. If I mess this up, it's curtains for all of us. We're gonna keep saving until we get closer to the choice that they make us make here. We now present one and only one piece of evidence. Now then, what is the important evidence that you must show to the court? So they haven't seen the camera. We haven't talked about the wine glass. And I don't think we can implicate Adrian yet with what has been talked about. There's the wine glass that was, well, found next to the victim. So maybe they're So they haven't seen the camera. The camera, it's claimed that it was stolen and that there was an article in it, like in the case. But the article is about the victim, so I don't know that that links it very well. Let's try his manager here. Sorry, Wright, but this time your bluffing steered you wrong. Nope. Load. Alright, let's see. So I don't think the wine glass is relevant since they can just say that it was on the table. You know, he didn't get around to drinking it. Huh. There is something wrong with the scene. If you look, the guitar case is open, but it's after the vase smashed. Because if there's only water on the lid, then the water that splashed, like the configuration of the water would have gone, like it wouldn't be open with only Karita's fingerprints. Does that count? Nope. I'm sure that'll come up later, but apparently it's not what they're thinking about right now. Okay, no, it's not about the suicide note. Or the lack of a suicide note. This trial has been one of the more frustrating ones as far as figuring out exactly what they want you to do. The initial pass of it has been the missing that line, which is on me, so maybe I'm wrong here and I'm just not seeing it. Okay. Nope. It's not her suicide note, or her suicide report. I don't think the transceiver is necessarily good for us here, because we're not supposed to tell anyone, and the kidnapper is saying that we need to acquit him, which doesn't sound good. Camera. I hate that we're having to do this by process of elimination. Maybe the gossip article? Nope. Since that would have implied a relationship between the managers, but again, it seems like they don't want... they're not looking for the manager right now. Nope, it's not the post-show. Because they did mention that before. Okay, what do we have that they haven't talked about? Oh, so the wine glass was on there. Guide map, murder scene. So, everything on the countertop was, like, the flower vase was smashed, all the cosmetics were thrown on the floor, but the wine glass is sitting there. So maybe it is the wine glass. It is the wine glass. You know, that thing that I tried to rule out right at the beginning of this. Oh, that's how it goes. Please look at the photo of the crime scene one more time. The scene is a mess because of the victim's struggle against his assailant. The vase was broken. His makeup is all over the floor. These were all things that were, at one point, sitting on the top of the dresser. Well, yes, I see your point. However, this glass that is sitting on top of the dresser is mysteriously untouched. The only thing that had not fallen over along with everything else is the wine glass. This piece of evidence is more than strange enough to warrant further consideration. Pause. Pause. Well, what do you all have to say? Ah, well, yes, it is a little peculiar. Yes, isn't it? I thought it was. You can stop looking at me with those puppy dog eyes of yours now. Mr. Edgeworth? What is it, Your Honor? Your opinion? You don't need my opinion. Because there is no special meaning to that glass. What? It's safe to say that the glass was set there after the crime took place. By the person who discovered the body, Adrian Andrews, for example. She could have easily been so shocked that she set the glass down without thinking. That does sound very plausible, Mr. Wright. Could Miss Andrews really have set that glass down without thinking? I don't think so. Unfortunately, we can't see the crime scene. She would have had to pick it up and move it there. If I appear weak here, the trial is over. I can look for my proof later. Oh, that's how we want to deal with it. It's like, just make wild statements. Look for proof later. For now, I should trust my instinct and point with certainty. You just might fall for it if you're thought-provoking enough. So often in this, they're like, just lie until somebody bites and then try to figure out how to make it not a lie. The defense would like to challenge the prosecution's theory. We'd like to see something that proves it was Miss Andrews who set the cup on the table. You've turned the situation on its head yet again, as usual. Mr. Edgeworth, do you have any proof to back up your claim? There's no way he has any. He's just bluffing. Unlike Mr. Wright, I never say anything unless I have the evidence to support it. What? Tap, tap, tap. You're not thinking hard enough today, right? Did you think this wine glass escaped my notice? Then, of course it has been thoroughly inspected for fingerprints. Fingerprints? There was only one set of fingerprints left on this wine glass. Only one? Well, whose were they? They were not the victims nor the defendants. Rather, they were of one Adrian Andrews. What? That is why I said that the person who had discovered the body had left it there. Are we done here, Mr. Wright? Miss Andrews was probably holding the glass when she went to see Mr. Kurita. Upon seeing his dead body, she was stunned and set the glass down on the dresser. I don't recall seeing wine in the defendant's room. What you just said makes a lot of sense. Now do you see, Wright? You can't change any part of my scenario as it explains everything all too well. Grr. I've thought long and hard this past year about what it means to be a prosecutor. And from here on out, I will show you the answer I have come to discover. Wait a second, Mr. Edgeworth? I think the prosecution has provided enough evidence for me to enter my verdict. Unfortunately, I cannot allow you to pass judgment yet. The prosecution has yet another witness we would like the court to hear from. Another witness? Yes. Bailiff, please bring in the next witness. What in the world is Mr. Edgeworth thinking? So the implication here is both of them are essentially students of Von Karma who who was very much at all costs get a guilty verdict. Doesn't matter what kind of stuff you have to pull during the trial, get the guilty verdict. I wonder if Edgeworth is saying that, and by his actions, I think he's saying that he wants to prove, like fully prove, that his theory is correct, that this person is guilty. which means he's calling the other witnesses. He's showing all of the stuff. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. Pause. Witness, your name and occupation, please. Ray gun. Gotcha. He's kind of scary looking when he's angry. I wonder what happened to that calm composure he had earlier. Oh, edgy boy, it's been what? A year since we last met, hasn't it? You should be more happy to see me. I saw the report with her testimony, but who knew that under that helmet, it was the Wicked Witch of the witness stand. I tell you, this time I know what I'm supposed to do. So today I'm going to tell you anything and everything. Even things that don't have to do with that terrible crime. Miss Witness, that terrible crime is all this court needs to know about. Please. Ray gun. Shush, I'm talking to my dear Edgy Wedgie right now. Edgy Wedgie sounds like a mean nickname that school children would have given him. Don't interrupt us, Gramps. Yes, madam. No, please, by all means interrupt her, please. Anyway, witness, your testimony, please. It's true what they say, now that youth are hot-headed nowadays. Not that I mind at all, Edgy. Now then, what should I start with? The witness was on security detail at the hotel on the night of the murder. Is this correct, Miss Oldback? It was a great job being able to see my dearie Juan. It was almost too much for my little heart to handle. You mean you were a fan of the victim? Look, everyone is crazy over that Ungard, saying he's cute in a fresh way or something. But not me. I couldn't say anything so silly. After all, I have no interest in a little child like him. I'm only interested in a real man, Juan Corrida. But those two were the same age. Anyway, as I was saying, I was pacing in front of his room that night. Very well, please tell the court what you witnessed the night of the murder. Leave it to me, Edgy Poo. Is terrible, and somehow puts on a great deal of makeup when she's feeling emotional. Anyway, after the ceremony, I went to pace around in the hallway in front of his room. There was something I was interested in finding out, you know. Well, since I was on the job, I made sure to keep a good eye out the whole time. That's when someone showed up. It was a man coming out of poor Juan's room. It was Ungard, Matt Ungard. He was trying to sneak his way out of Juan's room. So Mr. Ungard came out from the victim's room. See, it has to be him. He's the murderer. Pause. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. After the ceremony, she was pacing. Miss Oldbag, what was your post on that night? The lobby. I was supposed to help set up the stage for that trifling show, but I refused to help. I'll have you know, it was for that lead-headed samurai show. I even took out a few of the nails. Maybe it was a good thing that show didn't go on. Besides, that manager with the glasses seemed to be working hard at it without me. So I thought I'd take a break and spread my wings a little. And that's when you went to hang around the victim's door? Something I was interested in finding out. Something you were interested in? And just what was that? It's not something, it's not some little thing I can just go around telling everyone, no. It's top secret between me and Juan. And Edgy Poo, of course. Mr. Edgeworth, what is this thing she was interested in? I have no idea. I despise gossip, Your Honor. Gossip? But should it prove relevant, we can always have it appended to her testimony later. Well, that's the place that we've got to put the gossip rag, I bet. Looks like we shouldn't force it right now. And did the witness stay in the vicinity of the victim's door the entire time? She was on the job, she kept a good eye out the whole time. Oh, then would you tell us the number of people who went in and out of Mr. Kurita's room? I have no idea. I wasn't born so I could count things for those who did pay attention in class. That's why ever since I turned 20, I quit keeping track of how old I really am. Yes, well, that would explain why your age was not included in the report. In any case, the witness then saw someone, correct? That's one scene. That's the man coming out of poor Juan's room. Who in the world was that? I'm not allowed to say. This sort of information has to be carefully guarded from the masses, Sonny. The man that came out of Juan's room. He was... Yes, he was... I'm too scared. I can't say his name out loud. Oh, what I wouldn't give to have Francisca's whip right about now. Well, I guess I can tell you since he was such a bad boy anyway. It was on guard, Matt on guard. He was trying to sneak his way out of Juan's room. Oh, I didn't press that. Jump off topic. She's straight onto a few interesting side topics this time, hasn't she? And that's what makes her a sweet old lady, right? That's because you're not the one who has to question her. Just interested in finding out. We'll drop down a save. I think this is where we can press on the magazine. Send. Magazine. Nope. Load. I thought that's where we would be able to. A little time. Showed up. Guard. Press on this. Sometimes you have to press on everything before it lets you move on. You saw my client. Are you sure about that? Yesy. Really? Annoying brat. When I say I saw someone, I saw that person. How do I get the sense of deja vu? Maybe to avoid a repeat of last year, I should delve into this a bit further. Please tell the court about the man's clothes in more detail. What a troublesome man you are. Really, as if something like that matters. But it does. Now what was it? Oh yes, it was that thing. What thing? That gaudy thing he's always wearing. That racing jacket. He was wearing that at the detention center too. That thing's meant for nothing but seducing women out of their pantaloons. Men. Pantaloons. Right. So, Mr. Wright, was this testimony just now important or relevant in any way? I'm gonna say it was, because if we can show that he wasn't wearing that at the time, then we could show that she didn't see him. Of course it was important, Your Honor. Then perhaps you would like to point out what part of the testimony was important. Don't you see it, Edgeworth? Oh! If the button was in his hakama, he had to be wearing the hakama during the murder. But if he was in his racing jacket, he wouldn't have had the nickel samurai hakama on. ... Connor, I request what the witness said about the jacket to be appended to her testimony. I don't quite see where you're going with this, but alright, witness, please. Ah, well, I don't like to badmouth anyone without a reason, but if I must. He was wearing that flashy racing jacket. Honestly, it was all just for show. Save. So I think we present the button now. Pause. Miss Oldbag. What? Don't say my name for no reason. She really does look like a Giger alien when that happens. The over-pronounced gnashing teeth. Hardly any discernible eye left. Do you know what this is? Ah, it's button number 2 on the Jammin' Ninja's costume. Button number 2. Now I know she's an obsessed fan. She identified it in a single glance, let alone that she was able to tell which button it was on the costume, since there's 3 sets of buttons down both sides. What makes that button number 2? Give it here! Give it here! If you don't give it to me, I'll punish you with this. Ray gun! Wow, she really is a diehard fan to want a button covered in blood. I mean, if she's a really diehard fan, I think she would definitely take a sample of blood from her, her target of obsession. It would be one of those things to brag about on the forums. This button was discovered on Mr. Ungard's body during a full-body search. See? See? This button proves beyond a shadow of a doubt it was that rascal Ungard. Rascal. Perhaps a hoodlum. It was caught up in the pleats of his nickel samurai hakama pants. See? See? And Mr. Ungard is the nickel samurai. Witness. Now, it may just be me, and I do have an active imagination, but just now, didn't you say that the defendant, Matt Ungard, was wearing his usual racing jacket? Pause. Ah, I'm so sorry. Sorry that you judge people based on what they wear. If I wore the trendiest dress... Oh, and the way she goes. Yep. 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 Okay. Sure. Whatever you like. Wow. It keeps going. And then more ray gun. Now hold your tongue still there for just 1 second. So what you saw, in actuality, was not Mr. Ungard, the man, but Mr. Ungard, the nickel samurai? But when you think about it, they're really one and the same anyway. This old bag, this is a very important point we're talking about. Edgy Poo, do you think so too? Well, it might be something worth considering. To say it's important and agree with me for a change. Witness, think carefully and try to remember as much as you can before you testify. All right, if you insist. I should be the one sighing, not you. I saw. Well, we're making progress. Ungard, yes, now I remember. The nickel samurai, that's right, it was the nickel samurai that I saw. Yes, it would have been it would have been convenient for him to wear his costume during the murder. He had to go to that post-ceremony stage show right after the crime, you know. So he must have worn that nickel samurai costume when he was stabbing poor Juan. But based on his testimony, he didn't know about the post-show, I thought. I knew it. I knew you'd say he was inside that costume. What? Did you think there could have been someone else inside that costume? Don't be a bad little boy thinking such rude things. But the possibility does exist. Ah, young'uns today. I told you, there's no way it was anyone else. How do you know that? Because I said so, and what I say is the truth. At least she's just as delightful a witness as she was a year ago. Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Would you please get on with your testimony? Watch your language, young man. What sort of tone is that to take with an elder? You know, elder in the sense of like an elder thing from the Mountains of Madness or such. My youthfulness isn't what it used to be, so you should forgive me for everything. If you keep on barking at me like that, I'll start singing at the top of my lungs. What? Nope. No singing. She's actually singing. Someone help my poor ears. Mr. Edgeworth, can you please do something about this racket? Witness, I'll give you a piece of gum later if you'll be good and stick to just the facts. Okay, I'm concerned that the next thing that she's going to imply is that she wants it because it's been chewed. Yep. I don't think she just wants him to give her some gum. Right. I'll be sending the bill for the chewing gum to your office at a later date. Remind me to send you a thank you note later too, Edgeworth. Old chum. She's a samurai. Be a little more careful with your testimony, please. Not too long ago, you said he was wearing his racing jacket, and now he's not. Not too long ago? And let me ask you this. When you were itty-bitty, what was your grand dream? Huh? What did you want to be when you grew up, whippersnapper? My dream, huh? Oh, I wanted to be Judge Wagner, hero of the public's court, so what? See? And look where you are now. You're not Judge Wagner, are you? Are you? Well, what I said earlier. Who puts any weight into things like that? The now is everything. I can't be held responsible for the past. Yes, I totally lied about my testimony. Fine, whatever. But I just told you that I lied, and I told you a different story. And the different story is true. That's fine. All that matters is that man was inside that costume. Isn't that enough? Yes, it would have been convenient for him. And why would that be? That way, no one would see his face, of course. But there's still no advantage for him that I can see. In fact, you would think the costume would make him stand out all the more. Pause. You are such an annoying child, you know that? You disagree with everything I say. Isn't that what you're doing to me? I got it. Maybe it was more troublesome for him to change in and out of the costume. stage show. Was there anyone else scheduled to appear at the post-ceremony show? Well, all the contestants were supposed to go on stage in a friendly gesture thing. And that included the Jammin' Ninja? Of course it included him. That's why when On Guard came out of Dear Juan's room, I didn't give it a second thought. I see. Well, anyway. Let's see, he must have worn the costume when he was stabbing Juan. So let me ask you one last time. The person you saw, it was really the Nickel Samurai. As showy as ever. Haven't I been saying that from the very beginning? Can I throw in the towel yet? You don't need to think too hard on this one. Huh? There's a contradiction in her testimony, and it's sitting in plain sight. The question is what that contradiction means for us. I'll have to figure out what you're talking about first, but okay. Nickel Samurai. That's right, it was the Nickel Samurai that I saw. It would have been convenient for him to wear his costume during the murder. Post-ceremony show right after the crime, you know. He must have worn the Nickel Samurai costume when he was stabbing Juan. So, it's possible that it's here, because again, I don't think he knew about the show. But I don't have some evidence that actually says that. Let's check this. Not going to be any of the murder stuff. I think it might be this, but, you know, save. Because when questioned about that, On Guard said that he wasn't aware of it. No, it's not. If you're right, he always has a different statement to say than, like, there's a fault in it. Promises. Well, clearly I need to think hard on this one, because I'm not getting it either, Mia. I mean, if she's emphasizing that it was the Nickel Samurai, then she doesn't know that it was him. Like, that it was On Guard. Can I use this picture to emphasize that? Let's plunk down another save. I don't really need the other one, but, you know. Convenient for him to wear his costume during the murder. I think any of the people work here. see. These two aren't it. Let's try here, because it wasn't that he was getting stabbed. No. The stab, like the fact that it was when he was stabbing him could have been a situation where if she thought that was the crime, but that doesn't stop what she was saying from being plausible. Maybe we emphasize that wouldn't be a convenient costume to wear? Nope. We already presented this there. Oh, but his fingerprints were all over it. Okay, maybe I have to present the knife there. Because it emphasizes stabbing. There we go. Okay, we got there. His costume has a mechanical hand and a glove, neither of which should have left fingerprints. Take a look at this. Yeah, so it's a knife. Big deal. If you're trying to scare me with that, I'll have you know it won't work. No, that's not my intention at all. That's the knife that was used in the murder, correct? Your Honor, do you know why this piece of evidence is important to this case? I don't even have to ask. It's because the defendant's fingerprints are on it. Pause. Is that what you're driving at? That is exactly what I'm driving at. What are we driving at, and whose car are we driving in? The judge would like to know where we're going with this. If Mr. Ungard was really in the Nickel Samurai costume at the time of the murder, then it's impossible for his fingerprints to have been left on this knife. Actually, he would have wiped all the previous fingerprints on this knife right off. Oh, that's right. The Nickel Samurai wears gloves, doesn't he? He probably took his gloves off before he began the stabbing. And why would he do something like that? To leave his prints on the murder weapon? There is no way he would do something like that. However, there is one possibility. Then let's hear your possibility. It's very simple. The defendant went to the victim's room while in costume as the Nickel Samurai. At that time, the defendant held no intent to murder. He was probably just going to relax and talk with the victim about the stage show. Which is why he took his gloves off. But the murder still did take place. It's well known that there was bad blood between the defendant and the victim. Well, I have heard that before. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say about Mr. Edgeworth's theory? Mr. Edgeworth's theory goes like this. When the defendant went to the victim's room, he had no intention of killing her. Now, up to this point, are there any problems with his theory? There is a contradiction. Why would he take the knife with him? This theory contradicts something in an earlier testimony. What are you babbling about? For argument's sake, let's suppose Mr. Ungard was the killer. If that's the case, I think it's impossible for the killer to have gone to the victim's room without intent. Knife. This knife. This was used by Mr. Ungard at dinner. Yes, we did establish that. Which means that if my client was, in fact, the killer, then he brought this knife with him when he left to visit Mr. Kurita. I suppose. However, you just said it yourself. At that time, the defendant held no intent to murder. If that were true, then why would he bring a knife? He wouldn't, would he? Which means, Mr. Edgeworth, your theory was flawed from supposition 1. And one more thing. If the murderer was wearing the costume at the time of the murder, then there should be glove marks left on the knife. Which means the defendant's fingerprints shouldn't be all over it like bees on a hive. Pause. And that brings me to my final point. This knife was planted by the real killer to hide their identity and mislead us. Gabble, gabble, gabble. Order, I say, order in the court. Was this knife really planted by the killer? Why would the murderer do such a thing? I think to frame him. It's to frame my client, Mr. Ungard, of course. To frame? Aren't you forcing the interpretation just a little too hard on this one? But we just established that the witness saw the Nickel Samurai in costume. And if that were true, then there shouldn't be a single fingerprint on this knife. Grr. Witness? Dot. Looks like I've made your life a teeny bit more difficult, huh, Edgy Poo? Witness, did you or did you not really see the Nickel Samurai? Well, I guess at first I might have forgotten, but... Are you saying you mixed up Mr. Ungard with the Nickel Samurai, his character on TV? But I mean, I can't really do anything about that now. Look, I was waiting around in front of their doors because, well, I wasn't waiting around for the Nickel Samurai, that's for sure. She wasn't waiting for the Nickel Samurai. Alright then, who were you waiting around for? That's top secret to anyone outside of security. I have a feeling that you were waiting for Mr. Juan Kurita, am I correct, witness? Ah, the way you think, you're a sad amateur with a terrible case of nearsightedness. Amateur? Me? What am I an amateur of? So Old Bag was waiting around in front of the victim's room. But it doesn't sound like she was waiting to catch a glimpse of Mr. Kurita. Maybe, Phoenix, maybe the Old Bag was waiting around for that person. You know, that person. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If it's who I think Mia's hinting at, it's certainly possible. Miss Old Bag. We're waiting for this person, which should be Adrian Andrews. Who is this person? This is Adrian Andrews, Mr. Ungard's manager. But why would the defendant's manager be in the victim's room? It seems that this is the latest rumor in circulation, Your Honor. Oh, this is... Well, this is... I see. The judge seems to be really into the article, if it can be called such a thing. And this manager with the initials AA, are you saying it's Adrian Andrews? Without a doubt, the witness thought so as well. Looks like you found me out. Well, that's fine. I can throw away this whole sworn to confidentiality stuff then. Witness? What in the world are you... Watch out, Phoenix. Got a bad feeling about this. A very bad feeling. I got some information, some very secret information from a certain source. I bet she's the one that stole Lotta's camera then. So that's why I was doing my own little investigation. In secret, of course. But what for? Oh, just for myself, personal reasons and all that. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, how will you proceed from here? I really don't want to do this, however, I cannot simply let this point slide. I see. Very well then. Witness, please testify about this secret information. Get ready. This is going to take the wind out of you young'uns. I'm sure we're all capable of handling this. Really, it's not like we're 10 years old. That Ungard is one evil, evil man. He thought he could ruin poor Juan by causing a huge scandal. So to do that, he sent his own manager to get in close with Juan. I cannot condone such dirty tricks, so I took action. Oh, and this is top secret. You got that? Nobody else but you and me know yet, okay? The defendant sent his manager. What a distasteful topic for this court. What? Nobody's above gossip. And isn't there a saying, the truth is never pleasant? Never heard that one before. Mr. Edgeworth, what about this Adrian Andrews person? We have looked into this matter and found that the truth the article proposes is, in fact, baseless gossip. But should this be true, then this proves that the defendant did bear ill will towards the victim. So this means I have to smash this rumor once and for all. Now then, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Well, I have to say that it seems like the blanket up in the cat tree is definitely not favored. They tend to kick it around, and it takes up space. Be careful. The old bag seems rather excited right now. That's right. Ungard is nothing but your average foul-blooded youth. That is... that's a way to phrase that with, some not-so-nice implications about her, the way she thinks of people. As the old saying goes, you've got to burn old bags with fire. Who says that? Especially when you're referencing a person. Time to fire up the afterburners and hit the... What are these references for, Phoenix? Guard is one evil, evil man. You can't say something like that without proof. It's just slander. But it's true. That woman was getting intimate with poor Juan. Look, it says so right here, doesn't it? Manager to the stars, Miss A.A. The name of the magazine this comes from is Gossipland. What? Are you saying that gossip is all just a pack of lies? What do you know? I suppose next you'll swear to me that the news is 100% truth. Honestly, Sonny, you can't discriminate between the news and gossip. Yes, discrimination is bad, Mr. Wright. Discriminate? When did I do anything like that? Anyway, Ungard will never get me to say touché. You could cause a huge scandal. A scandal? What do you mean by that? You're a dim-witted one, aren't you? I can't believe you don't know what a scandal is. Honestly, what are they teaching kids in middle school these days? No, I was asking what I wasn't asking what the word means. Even I know that much. Well, that Ungard thought he could own a monopoly on popularity. Sent the manager to get... I do like how when you're pressing them, the end of the reply, unless it tails off into a new event, will chain into the next statement, the next original statement. Sentence manager, you don't have any proof that Mr. Ungard did any such thing. You must be suffering from shock, the shock of hearing the truth. And now, since you're in so much shock, you can't do anything right. You're right, I can't do anything, but boy, I wish I could do something about you. Alright then, Sonny, show me what you've got. Can you show me proof that Ungard didn't bear any ill will towards Juan? Just check the court record here, we'll also save. Don't think I have anything to back that. In theory, the press conference, the idea that he was going to confess something could be an implication, but I don't think so. Don't have anything to offer. See? Just as I thought. You were lecturing me about saying things without proof. You've just given me a free pass to say whatever I want, whenever I want. My big mouth. That's the way the cookie crumbles, for you, anyway. I don't condone such dirty tricks, so I took action. So what do you mean by I took action? Like I already told you, I was lying in wait close to the crime scene. Once that slimy woman came out of Juan's room, I was going to capture her and teach her a good lesson. Something you young'uns need. We're going to teach her a good lesson? I was going to make her eat the damaging beams of my ray gun. No, stop. It was too bad that woman didn't come through the door that night. Nobody else knows but you and me. Wait. What? I'm a busy woman. Tea time with the kids is over. Secret information that no one else knows yet. If that's true, then how do you know this secret information? Huh? Well, that's because I'm a pro. Yes, that's it. It's a secret. Even if you drilled a hole into my brain, you'll never find out. We're gonna save. I think we can present evidence here that she stole the camera. So no one else is supposed to know this secret information, correct? If that's true, then why do you know it, Miss Oldbag? Why are you looking at me like that? Stop that. Witness. I hate to say it, but this is how you came to acquire your secret info, isn't it? Camera. The investigative photographer, Lotta Hart. Oh yes, I remember that mischievous girl. She reported that she had lost a certain note she had written to herself. She reported such a thing? On that piece of paper, she had written down some of her outrageous impressions about the relationship between the victim and Miss Andrews. What outrageous ideas, you say? No, I said impressions. Then everything written on this piece of paper is completely meaningless? Ah, that's it. That's the note. Haha. No, you see, this is something completely different and unrelated. This is my top secret list of groceries to buy. You're the one who took Miss Hart's note. I'm a huge fan of wands, that's why. That infamous puffy-haired whippersnapper. She's working with that evil Ungard. She said so herself. Ungard, I'm his sidekick. She was so happy, smiling like a silly duck. I was only checking what she had written. Angie Poo, you believe me, don't you? I was only trying to help out like the angel I am. It's only one little piece of paper. I've never taken anything else before. You really should come with a supply of cheese to match your vintage wine. It was only a piece of paper. I suppose we can overlook this just once. Looks like she's really sorry. Should I forgive her? Pile on more pressure. If I let up on her now, she'll get away. I have to find some way to inflict a deafening blow to the prosecution. Witness, you said that the only thing you stole was that note. Is this correct? Stole? You listen more carefully, you annoying brat. I saved this piece of paper from the terrible, lonely trash can, that's all. You're lying, damn it, and I can prove it. Are you putting my credibility under scrutiny again? This old bag. I don't believe that the note is the only thing you stole that night. Stole the camera. This old bag. That note was with a camera inside its case, wasn't it? A camera? Yesterday, Lotta Hart was raising a huge stink over her camera. She kept saying something like, my sweetie $1,600 camera disappeared on me. Why, witness! What is it, Gramps? If you have the note, then it's only logical that you have the camera, too. Grr. Looks like you found me out again, Sonny. Is this the camera? That's... What? Even though I look like this, I'm still a person, you know. I still eat meals like you. I fall in love and borrow things from people. I think your definition of borrow is a little off. I saw that woman's business card, and that's when I noticed it. And that's when I noticed it said, Slimebag Celebrity Photographer Extraordinaire. I mean, I'd kind of want to see a business card like that. Like, a really honest business card. Oh, when I saw that, I had to know what sort of pictures she had taken. I'm a professional security guard. It's my business to know these things. Bailiff, check this camera's photos. Hurry. We must examine them at once. Well, Mr. Edgeworth, what do we have? There's only one photo that seems to be relevant to this case. Please present it to the court. This is the Nickel Samurai. See, I told you, that's the guy I saw. This proves that the witness was not lying earlier about this matter. What does this all mean, Mr. Edgeworth? This photo by itself does not prove that the person is the defendant. However, in his own confession, Mr. Ungard clearly stated that at the time of the murder, he was still in his Nickel Samurai costume. If that is the case, then this Nickel Samurai is the defendant. How did it come to this? I think this brings us to the end. We've examined every piece of evidence thoroughly. Final comments, Mr. Wright? The court will consider them before we close. Save. You agree that this photo is decisive evidence against your client. Well, of course we don't. If the photo really is decisive, then we're done for. But if I raise an objection here and blow it, then it would put Maya's life in jeopardy. Can't make a mistake here. There's only one road out of this mess. Bluff wildly. Something strange. There's something strange with this photo. I knew this was coming, right? Your thoughts, Mr. Edgeworth? I think we can all agree there's nothing strange with this photo. There's no way for the defense to debunk this photo, even with a bunker buster. Debunk with a bunker buster. I mean, it'd be a way to it would be a way to end the case for sure. Anyway, please look at the photo one more time. You really believe you can honestly find something wrong? You need one chance, right? Well, I have to find something wrong. It's out of focus. Why can't she take a good shot, especially when it counts? Let's hear your objection. Oh. Okay. So, if it were Ungard's room... Oh no, Ungard's room would have been on the right. So coming in the door. So that direction makes sense. I think. Yeah, that's Karita's room with the extra flowers. I mean, the gloves are on, which we had a problem with previously. Maybe gloves? It's the person here, of course. I mean, the Nickel Samurai, and what is wrong with that? At the time of the murder, Mr. Ungard was in his own room. Which means this... No, that doesn't make sense. I think that's all it takes. You should reconsider your choice of occupation. It's about time you retired. Load. Okay, so it's not the person. And the door is closed. No. Oh. The pants are dragging on the ground. It's the pants are bunched up like crazy on the floor. I'd like to direct the court's attention to this one right here. This area right here. What are you pointing to? His ankles? If you could see this person's ankles, that would be one thing. However, you can't. And what does that mean? The costume person in this photo could not have been Mr. Ungard. Hey there, Hungry Pants. Good to see you again. Playing some Phoenix Wright today. Wonder if you would care to elaborate with actual facts, that is. Let's take a look at the Nickel Samurai's poster. Yep. Feet clearly visible. How have you been doing lately, Hungry? Pay attention to the area at the bottom of the Hakama. His socks. You can see his socks. Exactly. However, in this photo, the Nickel Samurai is clearly holding his Hakama up just to walk. There is only one explanation for this. The person inside this costume is clearly much shorter than the defendant. Oof. That's a long time to be knocked out by an illness there, Hungry. Any idea what you're dealing with? Gonna turn things around for myself. It's curious. Huh? What is... Edgeworth is unusually calm today. That's true. He's just letting the trial run itself, as if he's only along for the ride. Along for the ride? What do you mean by that? I can only guess that perhaps he doesn't feel under attack at all. That can do it. I mean, stress can really play havoc with your immune system. He doesn't feel under attack? And I haven't damaged his case at all? Mr. Edgeworth, where does this leave us? If the person in this photo is not Matt Ungard, then everything the prosecution has tried to prove has become meaningless. I figured it would come to this. What? Right. I have something I want to ask you. I think you have proven that the person inside this costume is not Matt Ungard. In that case, who is this a photo of? Is the person wearing the Nickel Samurai's costume? Save. Nope. Save. Well, hopefully it'll turn around for you, Hungry. Stress out over this, Phoenix. It's very simple. You should be focusing on his Edgeworth's attitude, don't you think? Yeah, why is he so calm? Mr. Wright, let's hear your thoughts. Who is the person? Well, everything seems to be pointing to Adrian Andrews. Adrian Andrews? If you want to know who that Nickel Samurai is, it's none other than this woman. And why would you say it must be Miss Andrews? What in the world points you to her? For starters, she's short. And she can freely move in and out of Mr. Ungard's room. Finally, she had dinner with Mr. Ungard that night. And how does that all add up? It means that it makes it very easy for her to get a certain item. A certain knife with Mr. Ungard's fingerprints all over it. The knife that was used as a murder weapon. Why don't you just say what it is you want, right? I have to do this now. This is my last chance to turn things around. It's probably going to be the accusation here, but we're making sure it doesn't go into a you have to explain yourself moment. The defense moves to indict Miss Adrian Andrews in the murder of Juan Corrida. It was Miss Andrews who tried to frame the defendant for the crime. Gavel, gavel, gavel. Order. Looks like this trial has hit a most unexpected development. How is it unexpected at this point? Pretty much every one of Phoenix's trials have a accusation. An accusation of somebody that's in the courtroom or some other person thrown in there. Pretty much, Hungry. It's like I can rewind time. We can work through this. Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor. This court is issuing a subpoena for Miss Adrian Andrews. A verdict cannot be passed without first hearing her testimony. Alright, this is it. This is kind of bad for us. What do you mean? If Adrian Andrews is summoned to court as a witness, that means that the trial will go on for another day. One more day? Ugh. If I don't get a verdict today, then Maya is in some form of trouble. Now then, we shall set Miss Andrews' testimony for tomorrow. What am I supposed to do? The judge is about to adjourn the court. Alright, let's put that save file down here. Wait and see. I have to do something. The trial must go on. But I don't have anything left. No evidence, no nothing. Oh, Edgeworth. I abhor wasting such valuable time. Edgeworth? I can hear Sherbet trilling in the background, but I can't see where he is. Your Honor, I request that you please continue with today's trial. But we cannot continue due to this unexpected development. Unexpected development? I think you underestimate me, Your Honor. There he is. Oh, he's heading for Sky, no doubt about it. He should be about to enter camera. There he is. He's trilling his whole way there. Wants to snuggle up with Sky there. I think you underestimate me, Your Honor. What do you mean by that? That Mr. Phoenix Wright would slave his way to subpoenaing Miss Adrian Andrews is all happening according to plan, even if Wright was a bit slow to catch on. It's Sky with no E. I don't know why his former family named him that, but I stuck to it. What? So right up there we have Sky up in front, Weasley in back. So, you know, the dark gray is Sky, the orange is Weasley, and then between them, the kind of tan-colored one is Sherbet. As the meaning of your statement, Mr. Edgeworth, Miss Adrian Andrews is currently waiting in the prosecution's lobby. She is the next witness. Everything was planned out in advance by that man? Somehow I knew there was no way Edgeworth would overlook Miss Andrews. Yeah, the two new ones are Sherbet and Mason. Mason makes less appearances on camera, but he's a terror otherwise. He is all over the place. Full-on kitten rampage, you know? Sherbet is much more skittish and shows up on camera to lay with the other cats. He'll be on the back of the desk cam on the little stairway, laying down with either Weasley or Rorschach, or he'll try to snuggle up there with Sky. Every now and then we spot Mason next to the pillow that Ember sleeps on. sometimes on it. I think we've seen him in the hammock a couple times, too. Looks like this battle is far from over. Let's actually see if we can spot him. Nope. He's lurking elsewhere. Looks like this battle is far from over. Exactly. Very well. We'll call the next witness. However, before we proceed, we shall take a 10-minute recess. Please prepare your witness in that time, Mr. Edgeworth. The court will now take a 10-minute recess. Gavel. To be continued. Dude, I can't believe that Adrian. No way, not cool and collected Adrian Andrews. She is your manager. It would have been very easy for her to pull this off. The only person who had easy access to the knife you used at dinner was, well, her. So after the ceremony during the break, huh? I was sleeping like a log the entire time. See, she could have also easily planted that blood-covered button in your hakama. Because she was the one that came to wake me up? Then, dude, you're saying it really was her? Yes, she is the real killer. She was the one who murdered Juan Kurita. But why? I thought she was buddies with Juan. She has her own agenda. Her own agenda? What are you talking about? I'm sure you'll see by the time the trial's over. It'll be alright. I'll get you acquitted by the end of today. And that is the ultimatum that the kidnapper put on him for the release of Maya, was a total acquittal in one day. Get me a verdict that's refreshing like a spring breeze, okay, Mr. Lawyer Dude? Because that's like his marketing phrase, is refreshing like a spring breeze. He clings to it. Phoenix, you think her motive is related to Celeste Impax's missing suicide note, right? Yes. Miss Andrews depended on Miss Impax as her strength and reason to live. But when Miss Impax suddenly killed herself, it sounds like she left a suicide note, and the person thought to have hidden it is Juan Kurita, the victim of this murder. And that's why I think Miss Andrews got close to Mr. Kurita. All to get the suicide note back. That sounds plausible, but one thing bothers me. What? Who was it that first told us about their relationship? Better stated, Miss Andrews' dependency issues with regards to Miss Impax. Edgeworth. It looks like he's still the one in command of this ship. Don't let your guard down yet. Back in the courtroom. Court will now reconvene. Now then, Mr. Edgeworth, if you please. The prosecution calls the witness subpoenaed by this court. Miss Adrian Andrews, the person who discovered the crime in Mr. Juan Kurita's room. The card that she has is, I thought, the symbol of the kidnappers group or something like that. What is your occupation? I'm the manager of the defendant of this case, Mr. Matt Ungard. I see. Now then. Before we begin, Your Honor, I have one request. Yeah, sure. What is it? I'm sure everyone in this room is wondering the same thing, and would love to find out more about my relationship with the victim. After all, it was the topic of a certain weekly magazine recently. No, I have no idea what you mean. I've never even heard of Gossip Land. If the judge was ever a prosecution witness, he'd do all of my work for me. Anyway, I was wondering if you could please tell us about your relation to the victim. Yes, I was seeing Mr. Kurita. I was also aware of the rivalry that existed between Matt and Juan. But this was a private matter between Juan and myself. So it was a fry and bait manner. Was it a bait and fry? Reminds me of fishing. But I didn't kill him. No one is accusing you of that. I think there's someone who would beg to differ. Hey. I think we all understand your relationship with the victim now, Miss Andrews. Very well then. Witness, please testify to the court about what happened when you discovered the murder that had taken place. When I found the body. It was time for the show to start, so I went to get Matt from his room. After that, I went to Juan's room. And there was his dead body. I was in shock. What I saw was, naturally, the exact same scene as in the crime scene photo. I felt as though I was about to faint, so I poured myself a glass of juice. Glass of juice. Definitely juice, and in fact, tomato juice. That's what she needed to calm herself down. Tomato juice. You poured yourself a glass of juice? Yes. Sadly, I didn't remember not to touch things at the scene of a crime. And I disturbed the crime scene by moving this one thing. And that is when the fingerprints on the wine glass were made, Your Honor. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, you may cross-examine the witness. Phoenix. She is one cool and collected customer, and she has the brains to match. I know. In order to catch a person like her, you have to avoid head-on confrontations. You should disrupt her pacing. Disrupt her pacing? She's the type of woman who is easily thrown off by things inconsistent with her thinking. So you have to attack when she least expects it. The instant you let up on your offense is the instant this trial is over. Understand? Plonk down a save here. Exactly. Because that's the product that you think about when you've got a stabbed corpse right in front of you is, I'm hankering for tomato juice right now. And what was Mr. Ungard doing at the time? He was taking a nap. He was worn out from his mini performance as the Nickel Samurai during the ceremony. Mr. Ungard did say he was taking a nap. Then I guess you could say it would not have been taken out of it. It could not have been taken out of his room, yes? Excuse me? It? What are you... Right, I thought years of school would have taught you how to construct a sentence. If you can't make a sensible sentence with a subject, then I'll make one for you. Watch. Did you, Miss Andrews, remove Mr. Ungard's knife from his room? No. Subject, verb, object, right? Did you skip basic grammar? The witness may continue. Well, see, they can't do orange juice, Hungry, because orange juice was definitely what was in this bottle beverage in the last trial. It It was a large glass bottle of orange juice that was used to concuss a puppet. Then I went to Juan's room. And why did you do that? As a friendly gesture. Juan was to make an appearance with the other heroes. So the show was supposed to be a show of friendship, huh? Press further. Is that the only reason? I beg your pardon. What are you implying? You had a certain goal in mind when you started to get close to him, correct? So perhaps you had a more personal matter to discuss with the victim. Pause. Sorry, but I didn't have any such intentions in mind at the time. I can't get her to talk without a strong piece of evidence, I guess. Yeah, the trial system in this world, Hungry, is much more fist fight than it is, fair and impartial. May we continue now? Witness, what did you see when you got to his room? There was his dead body. I was in shock. You were in shock. What? Was I not supposed to be? Andrews is a very calculating person. Despite how close they were, I doubt she had romantic feelings for Mr. Kurita. Anyone randomly stumbling upon a dead body would be in shock. And you can't seriously expect that a young beauty like her would not be shocked. Objection. Sexist. Somehow I don't think beauty has anything to do with being shocked or not. I see. What I saw was, naturally, the exact same scene is in the crime scene photo. This is the photo you're referring to, correct? Yes, the one with the knife lodged in his chest. And the guitar case was like this too? Yes, it was open and empty, of course. And then what did you do next, witness? I felt as though I was about to faint, so I poured myself a glass of juice. Juice? Yes, there was a bottle of tomato juice on the table, so I helped myself. But you didn't drink any of it, did you? Huh? There were no lip marks left on this wine glass to suggest that anyone drank from it. I wasn't feeling terribly great, so I set the glass down without drinking. Miss Andrews, I would like to confirm with you one more time. When you discovered the dead body of Juan Kurita, you were in great shock. Pretty much. And that's when you poured yourself the glass of juice, correct? And what of it? My mind really was a complete blank at the time. Your mind was a complete blank? I didn't think that was possible for you. Aren't you rude today? I was so dazed that I made one careless mistake. That one thing. What one thing? Never mind. It's no big deal. What was she starting to say just now? Coke. Miss Andrews, I'm convinced that as you said, you made a mistake at the scene of the crime. What I really want to know is what this mistake was. Actually, so would I. I'm sorry. It's kind of embarrassing. When I set the glass down on the dresser, I accidentally knocked the flower vase over. Okay, now we have a contradiction. So remember, she said that she came in and everything was like it was in the photo. And I don't mean the flower vase. Are you talking about the one on the floor in the crime photo? The contradiction with the flower vase is the guitar case. This mess of glass shards? It was originally on top of the dresser, but when I bumped into it with my elbow, it fell onto the guitar case. Why did you withhold such an important piece of information? I'm sorry, I thought that since the crime scene was already in disarray, that people would simply assume the vase was just another part of the mess. Looks like yet another fact has come to light here. Please add this and anything else you have to reveal to your testimony. I'm sorry, but I have nothing more to add. I didn't touch anything else. I was the one who knocked over the vase where it fell onto the guitar case. Say, the guitar case only has water on the top, the upper lid. The outside of the upper lid. But she said that the guitar case was open when she got in there. If she'd knocked over the vase onto the guitar case, it would have gotten inside of it. The other aspect that's important to Phoenix Wright cases so far is wild speculation until you manage to find something that kind of sticks. You testified that you knocked the flower vase over. Is that correct? Yes. And you're sure it fell onto the guitar case? Is there some problem with what I said? It's not some problem, it's a major problem. It's true that the top of the guitar case was wet with water. However, that's exactly what is so strange. Miss Andrews, you testified that the vase fell onto the guitar case. However, if that was true, the case would have gotten wet on the inside, not the outside. That's very true. Furthermore, there's one other strange thing about the guitar case. And what is that? Let's take another look at the crime scene photo. The remains of the vase are scattered on the floor. And what is wrong with that? If the guitar case was open when the vase fell, the judge is absolutely the dumbest one in the room. Like, he will buy anything that is told to him. And it's only at the most dramatic incidents when he gets harsh. Like, only when it's, when it's supposed to be a critical moment does he seem to act like a judge. Though it is important to note that in this setting, the judge is the one that fully determines the verdict every time. There's no jury trial or anything like that. It's if the judge is convinced, you're done. Glass shards should be inside, not outside. What is your point, Wright? That the case was closed at the time the vase was knocked over? Is that all? No, think back to what Miss Andrews testified to. She said that other than the vase, she didn't touch anything else. That's right. She did implicitly say she didn't touch the guitar case. But this whole matter with the guitar case is a dead end. The bright red guitar was found at the studio. It has no bearing on this case at all. That may very well be, however, This is Phoenix's MO right here, is keep bluffing until it sticks. And as soon as he's, like, pinned down like this, it's like, oh, now I need to actually substantiate what I'm saying. It seems there's no deeper meaning to the guitar case. Well, Mr. Wright, do you think we need to hear more details about the guitar case? Yes. The empty guitar case. I believe this is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Huh. I can't believe anyone would reach for straws like this, but it is you. Can't believe I'm doing this either. We can all believe it. Alright, I'll follow along, for now. Miss Andrews, Please testify to the court about the guitar case. Yes, Your Honor. I don't remember too clearly because I was a bit dazed. I suppose I must have opened the guitar case after I knocked the vase over. It's not a big deal though, right? The case was empty after all. She didn't open it. It only has Rita's fingerprints on it. As for why I opened the case, even I don't know. Looks like it really wasn't a very important point. This wastefulness is such a familiar feeling by now that it's almost comforting. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and start the cross-examination. Using any way to change the topic, a convenient escape for a weak man. She's totally a believable witness, isn't she, Hungry? She was in a daze, you know? Just stumbled around, drinking juice and opening things. Oh, let's press everything. During your testimony just now, did you remember those events clearly in your mind? Well, you see. Are you sure you are the one who opened the guitar case? She's waiting for someone to tell her if she should answer or not. Sounds like her dependent side is taking over. Well, Miss Andrews? Yes, it was me. I must have opened the guitar case after I knocked over the vase. So you opened the guitar case then? Yes. Well, maybe. Why did you open the guitar case? Huh? Mr. Karita's dead body was right there in front of you, wasn't it? I would think that the first thing you would do is call for help, not open a guitar case. As the witness has said multiple times, when she found the dead body, she was dazed. Maybe I was curious to know if the bright red guitar was alright or not. I thought maybe the criminal took it. Why would she care about the bright red guitar? But getting back on topic. It's not a big deal though, right? The case was empty after all. Was it really empty? Huh? I was just wondering if maybe when you opened the case, the guitar was still inside. How long have you been a lawyer, Mr. Wright? Have a little professionalism. The bright red guitar was found at the studio. These trials would be over in half the time if you would just pay attention. Yes, pay more attention, Mr. Wright. We actually got to see the judge be way more manipulable with the last prosecutor, Franziska von Karma. She wielded a whip in the trial room, and would wield it on people, including the judge. And it was very effective. I don't know why I opened the case. Was it because you were shocked and dazed at discovering the victim's body? Yes, that's probably it. Not going to get anywhere if I continue pressing her like this. The way to make her talk is with evidence. Come on, Phoenix, we can't afford to let up on her now. Wasn't planning on letting up, but she's at her weakest now, so this is our chance. We got a weapon to hit her with. Sure, a weapon is hiding somewhere in the court record. Must have opened it when I knocked the vase over. So we should be able to present the guitar because the guitar's evidence entry is it has only his fingerprints. There's no way you were the one who opened the guitar case. Why would you say that? It's elementary, my dear. Because the only fingerprints on this guitar case are those of the victim. What is it, Miss Andrews? You You shouldn't assume that I must have left prints just because I touched the case. What do you mean? What if I were to tell you that I was wearing gloves at the time? Gloves? But why would you be wearing gloves at the time? It was the night of the awards ceremony, so of course I dressed up for the occasion. Yes, now I remember. I'm almost sure I was wearing a pair of thin gloves. I see. Well, Mr. Wright, it seems the witness was wearing gloves at the scene of the crime. Nothing strange about that. You were wearing gloves. Isn't that a little strange? Because her fingerprints are on the wine glass, too? Why is that strange? You have something that would prove I was not wearing gloves? Yes. Because the wine glass that she set down has her fingerprints. The Phoenix Wright games are proving very fun. And the trilogy has got to be... seems like it's good value for money, because you get, like, 3 of the games all together. We're still on, like, the first one, effectively. I think. I have your proof right here. This wine glass. Which definitely did not contain wine. The wine glass? You left your fingerprints very clearly on this wine glass. Even if you took your gloves off when you poured yourself this glass of juice, wouldn't you think it was just a little strange that you put your gloves back on just to open the guitar case? She has spare glasses in case she's shocked and makes them explode. That's a very specific condition she has. It's like you hit the nail on the head this time. What do you mean? I believe that guitar case plays a very important role here. But it's just an empty case. I wonder if it was really empty, though. But the guitar, the bright red guitar, was at the studio. Phoenix, drop all of your presumptions. What was in the guitar case? What was in the guitar case was not the bright red guitar. You don't mean it was a bright white guitar? Wait, that's not right either. Phoenix is such a box of rocks. I admit it would be unnatural for someone to do that, so the witness was not wearing gloves, despite the fact that on the case... Your Honor, this is obviously the defense's usual misdirection tactics at work. Steer the court towards an unrelated topic and lull us all into his misguided... No, Your Honor. Please recall that Miss Andrews had testified that the vase fell onto the guitar case, which means that the case was closed when the crime took place. However, it is wide open in this photo of the crime scene. I'm sure this guitar case has some relation to the murder. Are you so sure, Wright? Then I'm sure you can somehow substantiate your outrageous claim, correct? Please, enlighten us as to why that guitar case has anything at all to do with this murder. Save. Can you do that, Mr. Wright? Well, let's suppose for a second that the bright red guitar was not the only thing that could have been in the case. The bright red guitar not being the only thing? You don't mean to suggest that a bright black guitar... So you intend to push your theory that the case was not empty? Is that it, right? I wouldn't say something I didn't intend to prove. Deflate that head of yours. You haven't proven anything yet. Now then, let's have it. What was inside the case at the time of the murder? I think... the suicide report of Celeste. The suicide note, essentially. Why would something like that be inside a guitar case, let alone this one? Why, Mr. Wright? Why? Well... nope, okay, that wasn't it. You do that. Case. Save here, it's a little closer. Scene, wine glass. Camera wasn't the camera. Okay, so I'm still going with the the attorney badge. I'm still going with the it was Celeste Impacts. There's something to do with her. Let's try presenting her reference. Nope. Gotta be something here. The radio is from the kidnapper that is insisting that we win this trial fully in one day. She was running around all that night. Take a hint from 2 trials ago where the person hid in a box, you know. Let's try her suicide report. We're gonna, like, if we don't see anything out of this, I don't think there's actually anything. I think this might actually be a dead end. Let's let the penalty play out here. Okay, no, this is something that's supposed to happen. Why not? Would have been that. Little samurai costume. Okay. Explain this to me, game. Yes, the button taken from the murder scene where the knife is was put in the client's clothing. What's important is what's in the picture, Your Honor. Save here. We've made progress. Take a genius to see what I mean. What I'm proposing is... inside the guitar case was the nickel samurai, the hero's very own costume. What? Mr. Wright, explain yourself. Right. Are you saying that the witness opened the guitar case to take out a costume? What insane point would there be in doing something like that? An insane point would be to wear the costume, of course. Miss Andrews put it on to hide her identity so she could make her escape. After all, you couldn't let someone see you leave, could you, Miss Andrews? I refuse to accept your theory. Do you have anything to support such a preposterous idea? Just outside the door was an investigative photographer who was starving for a big scoop. In the end, she managed to get this shot, correct? You mean this photo? Order. Looks like we've wandered into quite another mess again, haven't we? Nice job, Phoenix. You know my strategy. Speak first, think later. He's the best lawyer. Oh man, they're all congregating here. Sammy has entered the camera. That sherbet on the little steps there, Rorschach in front of him. And then Sammy briefly walked in front of the camera. Weasley crossed down over them. So the real murderer was hiding inside a costume. Wait a second, Your Honor. The Nickel Samurai's costume would have been Mr. Matt Ungard's. Why would something of the defendant's be in the victim's room? And inside the guitar case of all places. True. It is a little baffling. Mr. Wright, the court would like to hear your thoughts. What was the Nickel Samurai's costume doing in the guitar case? It was a spare. Mr. Ungard did not take his costume off during the break period. That was established. In that case, the costume we were talking about was a spare one. What? Then, are you saying that on the night of the murder, there were 2 Nickel Samurai costumes at the Gatewater Hotel? Yes, that is what I'm saying. And how do you explain that the costume was inside the guitar case? I mean that the victim himself had brought this spare to the ceremony on purpose. But why? The victim, Mr. Kurita, was the Jammin Ninja. Why would he secretly bring the Nickel Samurai spare costume with him? What could be the reason behind such a peculiar act? And therein lies the sticking point. I don't know. What are you mumbling to yourself about now? Have you just been rambling all this time without any sense of inner monologue? Huh? No, I just... Mr. Wright, please explain yourself. Why do you think the victim had the Nickel Samurai's spare costume? Save. Phoenix, are you sure you can explain this one? Think carefully before you answer, and then answer with gusto. I believe in you. This is what I think. The reason the victim brought the Nickel Samurai spare costume to the hotel was... press conference. What is this? On the night of the murder, after the stage show, the Nickel Samurai was going to hold a special press conference. Press conference? Yes, the Nickel Samurai was supposed to confess something at this conference. I heard about this as well. For once, you're not making something up, right? But what struck me as strange was that Mr. Ungard himself said he had no idea he was supposed to be holding a press conference that night. He only knew it was supposed to be a kind of like a farewell thing where he has like a meet and greet with the other contestants. But how can that be? The way I see it, that can mean only one thing. The conference was a setup. By none other than the victim, Mr. Juan Kurita himself. The victim? Yes. The spare Nickel Samurai costume was prepared for that very conference. Mr. Kurita was going to hold that press conference as the Nickel Samurai. Yep, she's still standing there, Hungry. Why would the victim do such a thing? That's something I don't quite know yet, however. What I'm concerned with right now is what he intended to reveal at that conference. The Nickel Samurai was going to confess something. If I confess, I'd wager he was going to reveal something about himself. And not only is it the witness stand, it is aptly named the witness stand because they're always standing at the witness stand. So that's got to get uncomfortable after a bit. Which means that Juan Kurita, posing as the Nickel Samurai, was going to speak about Matt Ungard. Yes, I guess that is what it would mean. But if that's the case, that's not a confession, that's public disclosure. Miss Andrews? I can see why you are pros at what you do. Pardon me? Yes, just as you say, the press conference was a setup by Juan. Miss Andrews, please offer us an explanation for this. I was the one he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared the second costume for him, that was also me. Juan had bet everything on the Jammin' Ninja this year. And if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought, anyway. It was going to ruin him, huh? It looked like somehow Juan had in his hands a secret so powerful that it would destroy Matt's acting career had it been revealed. What? And you know what this secret of Mr. On Guard's is, Miss Andrews? Yeah, it's... Her saying they're really good at their job is questionable. Now, the prosecution is almost universally portrayed as essentially a bit prescient. They have all the evidence, they don't release it to everybody, and they're always like one step ahead of you until they're not. Whereas Phoenix is just obviously blundering. Just rolling through the case and occasionally landing on something relevant. Edgeworth is definitely an example of the prescient prosecution where, yeah, he's plotted everything out. And if you object too much, he'll just say, I knew about that all along. Here's what's really happening. That's something only Juan knew. I don't know what it is. I see. I've probably been coming off quite suspicious to everyone. But that's to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt, after all. Protect Mr. On Guard. And yet again, another strange bit of truth comes to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could, please tell us the truth about your behavior. Yeah, lying on the stand is actually pretty much okay. In the same vein that the prosecution can hide evidence, manipulate witnesses, and assault everybody. Like, at the end of one of the trials, Phoenix Wright was whipped into unconsciousness when the prosecution had a tantrum. But that's perfectly okay. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what, and he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, the button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt I had to protect him. This does account for everything. Well, I am the logical type. Finally seeing her true self. She's more nervous than a scared rabbit. If the defense can find no fault with this testimony, I'm ready to make a ruling. Please keep that in mind as you cross-examine, Mr. Wright. It's like somehow everything has swung in the opposite end of the scale again. That just means I have to put my weight onto this and turn her logic upside down. Fresh save. We got a triple cat there. We got Rorschach right on the desk, Sherbet using him as a pillow, and Sammy sitting on the step above Rorschach. Would you say that was your intuition speaking to you? Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. Ouch. If you want to prove that someone did something, you need 3 things. 3 things? Motive, an opportunity to commit the crime, and finally decisive evidence. And if you think these three things through, the answer becomes quite clear. You should have already known that, Phoenix, what with being a lawyer and all. Supposedly. They didn't teach that to us in school, at least not from what I remember. May I continue now? Matt had to kill Juan, no matter what. So would you say this need came from the press conference? Yes. Do you know why Juan chose that event and that hotel for the conference? Because that was when he could cause the most damage to the public's beloved Matt Ungard. And you knew of this plan, didn't you, Miss Andrews? Yes, because I was the one who set up the conference and prepared the costume. But I'm sure Mr. Ungard himself didn't know anything about the press conference. Oh, really? Can you show me any proof that he didn't know about the press conference? Anyway, the important thing here is that this information was not in your testimony. I agree. Miss Andrews, please correct your testimony, if you please. Grasping at straws now, are we, Mr. Wright? I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right. Has Mr. Ungard done something to hurt or betray you personally? Why would you ask? You were the one who helped Mr. Krita with his press conference. And that event was supposed to bring down Mr. Ungard, yet you still helped out. The person on trial right now is Mr. Ungard, right? What the witness was thinking, helping the victim with his plan, is none of our concern. In any case, this means that the defendant had a motive to kill. Why do I keep doing this to myself? And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. But didn't you already testify earlier that Mr. Ungard was taking a nap in his room? Are you telling me now that that too was a lie so you could cover for him? I'm not telling you anything of the sort. When I went to get him from the show, he honestly was sleeping. However, as to whether he was sleeping at the entire time, that I cannot say. I was too busy setting up the stage at the time. I keep trying, but I can find no flaws in what Miss Andrews has said. I can't say the same for some people here in the courtroom, however. Judge is glaring straight at Mia. He's glaring at you, smart guy. And based on the legal system in this game, Hungry, all of that is fine. Lying on the stand, hearsay, witness badgering, general incompetence, perfectly okay. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, the button and the knife. The knife seems questionable there again. You can hardly call the knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever camouflage. Then what about the button? The button? It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and his murderer fought. And during the fight, the killer ripped the button from the Jammin' Ninja's costume. You're talking about this button, correct? That button was found in the plates of Matt's Hakama. Isn't that correct? I think that makes it very decisive evidence. It's like you were outfoxed again, Mr. Wright. Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony. Can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat. Thank goodness Mia can still look at me. With an icy stare, yes. Mia is a channeled spirit of his dead mentor. Miss Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony. That button was torn off of Juan during his fight with Matt. And how do you know that? When the ends of the threads on the button and the costume were matched up, they were found to fit together perfectly, or so I heard. Heard that before, too. Why would Miss Andrews know about this case down to such a fine detail? Don't look at me like that, just because I'm prepared and you're not. I had her this time. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt I had to protect him. What you really did was stab the guy in the back, didn't you? And at the worst possible time. Who's to say she really stabbed the guy in the back, as you put it? This witness could have disclosed things about Mr. Ungard at any time. Why then would she wait until there was a large audience before doing so? And it's the same reason that why Mr. Kurita planned such an elaborate conference. Miss Andrews wanted to cause Mr. Ungard as much damage as she possibly could. This witness bears ill will towards the defendant. This isn't the Phoenix Wright Wax Philosophical Power Hour. And please, stop slandering the witness. This whole court system is the Wax Philosophical Power Hour. As I expected, Miss Andrews' testimony seems pretty solid. Really? Because to me it sounded a little wishy-washy. Wishy-washy? I guess we'll see if I press a little more. You should know this by now, but you'll need strong, decisive evidence to make her talk. Got it. Alibi. Okay, it's got to be the button part. What about the button? Wait, no. It couldn't have been torn off his clothes during the fight if it's got his blood on it. Because the autopsy report says he was strangled, then stabbed. And there wasn't blood everywhere. Optimum cat-cam content. We're periodically getting 4 visible at once. Let's plonk down a save. Okay, I'm going to try the autopsy here. And it may not be apparent, but Sherbet is essentially using Rorschach's face as a pillow. Rorschach is curled in, and Sherbet is, like, holding the top of his head and laying against the bridge of his nose. This is the victim's autopsy report. It clearly states that the cause of death was strangulation by a scarf. Strangulation? The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died. And what does that mean? Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off the costume when? After the knife was stabbed into the victim. Exactly, which means it is impossible that the button was torn off during the victim's final struggle, because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. Sherbet is finding that Rorschach is plenty snuggly. Rorschach tends to be his pillow when he's down there, whether it's from the steps or from the side like this. That's right, Miss Andrews. There is no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off the victim's already dead body. What is the meaning of this, right? That's another thing that has frequently happened, is the judge starts to say something, and the prosecution cuts him off and says that thing he was about to say. So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change? Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve? What purpose? We now know this button was not torn off during the fight, so the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this off of the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it? Mr. Wright, does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with the button? He's going to carry it back and put it in his costume, so he's going to pin it on. There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. Ungard. There's no way anyone would put a bloody button in their own pants. That's right, Mr. Ungard was set up by the real killer. Dun, dun, dun. And the real murderer is? Oh, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer, then? Finally. I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet, not until the very end. Because our whole basis for thinking that Adrian was the murderer in the first place, the reason that we, requested to indict her, was evidence that Edgeworth gave us. Real killer. The person who planned to frame Mr. Ungard was Adrian. Miss Adrian Andrews. I choose you. You are Mr. Kurita's killer. What? And her glasses explode again. Order, Mr. Wright. This is a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge? Any evidence? All of the evidence points towards Miss Andrews. How preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me. I can't, can I? Would you care to test me? Then, what about this knife? Yes, Andrews hurt itself in its confusion. It was used to throw suspicion on Mr. Ungard, naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only be taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you. Glasses explode again. Just the fact that she has those extra pairs on hand. It's like she's got to have a whole bandolier of those things. Then, what about the button that was found in Matt's Hakama? This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only people who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. Ungard was the real killer, there is no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama. The infinitely refreshing glasses. The only person who could have put this button into Mr. Ungard's Hakama is the person who went to wake him from his nap, which is you yet again, Miss Andrews. I see. What about the empty guitar case? That is also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. That costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who would have known that there was such a costume inside the guitar case? could only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews. No, Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right. That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out she'd touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open. It's definitely a hidden cost there, Hungry. Let's see. 2 trials ago, the hidden cost was a hat repair. In the trial just before this, let me think here. So the trial before this didn't have anybody that was excessively damaging property, though the clown was a constant threat to the sanity of everybody that had to be in their presence. The birds didn't need extra bird feed. They were feasting on Phoenix whenever he was thinking. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposefully left her fingerprints on the glass to show that, yes, indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. And to top it all off, there's this photo. I mean, they could be roosting on those hair spikes on the back of his head. A photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth could believe this nickel samurai is Mr. Ungard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, are you not? Please stop. Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got her this time. Miss Andrews? I refuse to testify. What was that? There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me. The first person in the game so far to plead the fifth. Well, yes. You're absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination, by allowing a witness to not testify if the testimony can cause damage to themselves. It probably isn't, Tess. That would lower the conviction rate. Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot like this. Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. Ungard's room, Adrian Andrews. This is Franziska von Karma. Yes? Think hard about what we just discussed. Think hard about, understood? Alright. That's it. That's when Franziska planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews to not testify if things looked bad. You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. There is still one thing you haven't done. Something I haven't done? Pompous laughter. What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence? So humorous, Mr. Edgeworth. I think that's Edgeworth poking us to use the evidence that he gave us. I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up to this point is meaningless. What? Everything you have proven is circumstantial. Circumstantial? Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor a wish to murder Mr. Corita. Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Corita? I believe this may lead to me incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering. But Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think? Maybe so, or maybe not. There's nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime I would be guilty of due to my silence. Taking that defiant attitude again. Yeah. Concepts of law don't generally enter into this courtroom. It's much more concepts of soap opera. Somehow we've landed in the worst possible situation. I think we have reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify, and the defense's theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof. I mean, she was injured. Her weapon arm isn't going to work, and I don't think you would like it as much if that was the case, Tass. But that's not true. In this situation, there is only one thing this court can do, and that is to declare a recess. Recess? I request that both prosecution and defense look further into this matter and at tomorrow's trial. So again, he has to win this trial today. We don't have a tomorrow. If we don't get a not guilty verdict today, then... Please wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial... Please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? There's also the constant implication of... Like, maybe they're saying life in prison, but it really sounds like all of these cases are death penalty cases. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please, let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Maya... But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is not impossible for this trial to continue. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you... It's true, Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation were something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. That is very true, but... Actually, there's one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews, when you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice. Yes, and? I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Unusual when one finds a body that they're shaken up, not that they... Usually when one finds a body, they are shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice. So my actions were unusual? But I've already... Before you speak, I want you to state that if you have... a reason behind your actions, I'm stumbling over that sentence. I have no idea. Anyway, I would like you to testify to that effect. If you have a reason behind your actions, I'd like you to testify. Testify? Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness. I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know. The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please. That glass of juice, I didn't really pour it for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in that messy state. And Juan, who was sitting slumped over and tired-looking in the corner. When I saw him sitting like that, I thought that he was dead. The thought that he was dead didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice. When I realized that he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over. Which again, she is essentially saying that her story is very different now. That she lied in previous testimony. But that's okay. It's fine in this court system. As long as you pinky swear that you're not lying this time. So you poured that glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your earlier testimony? I didn't think I needed to include something so trivial. Please be careful here. If you can't find anything wrong with this testimony, then there's nothing left. Edgeworth, what is going on in that brain of yours? Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Didn't really pour it for myself. But there wasn't anyone else in the room, right? Of course not. Then who did you pour it for? Mr. Wright, there is a rhyme and reason for everything. Can you wait just a little longer for it to be revealed to you? In other words, Wright, please be quiet and listen. Precisely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Teaming up to bully him now. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in that messy state. So it was a mess? Are you sure it wasn't messy because of your fight with Mr. Kurita? I understand your frustrations at not being able to prove your theory. However, before you go accusing people of crimes, go find yourself some evidence. Grr. And then what did you see next, witness? Juan, he was sitting slumped over and tired-looking in the corner. Slumped over? Yes, he was just sitting there, with his head tilted forward, eyes closed. He really looked like he was sleeping. Just me, or did that right there sound a little odd? When I saw him sitting like that, I thought he was dead. The thought that he was dead didn't cross my mind. Then what did cross your mind? I thought maybe he had smashed everything up in anger because he lost the Grand Prix. And then he felt tired after his rampage, so he decided to take a nap. He got a little sleepy. Tends to happen after you go into a whirlwind rage. Which is, potentially true of berserkers and, toddlers. Anyway, that's what I thought. See, so you didn't think he was dead at all. To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something, so I went to pour him some juice. You thought he fainted? I thought he was asleep at first. But then the room was in such a messy state. Thought maybe he had gotten into a fight with someone. And that's when you went to pour the glass of juice. Yes, he always has a hard time waking up. So Juan always has a glass of tomato juice to drink. See, and after that, what happened next? Still, it's like they're trying to explain the tomato juice. Like, oh, he has a hard time waking up, so he keeps tomato juice on hand, Nature's natural pick-me-up. Realized he was dead, that's when I knocked the vase over. Oops. That last one. And how did you come to realize that he was, in fact, dead? I shook him over and over, but I never got a response. So I set the glass down in his dresser and tried to take his pulse. I was shocked and staggered backwards. And knocked the flower vase over. So that's what happened. Yes. I think the sitting in the corner is the inconsistent part. So, save. So this is why I'm thinking that, is that this isn't in the corner. Like, he's in the room. If she were to approach and be able to set that glass on the table, she could see he's slumped over, stabbed in the chest, missing button. Like, if she could pour herself a glass of juice, she saw him. Nope. Nope, that's not it, though. Okay, let's try here. There we go. So you honestly didn't think he was dead when you found him? No, not at all. Even though this is what you saw when you discovered the body. What is the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious, Your Honor? There's a knife sticking straight out of Mr. Creda's chest, and anyone who saw the scene would have immediately thought that here was a dead man. That's, well, you see, I doubt a single person in the world would mistake this for someone who fainted, and then so nonchalantly go pour something to drink. Your point is, Miss Andrews, your testimony just now was all one giant lie. Explodey glasses. Your lie has proven one thing very clearly, that you are the real killer. No. Looks like the defense has somehow brought the ugly truth to light. The defendant, Mr. Matt Ungard, is not guilty after all. But that's impossible. You're wrong. Miss Andrews, try to have some composure. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, I tell you. It was Matt. I swear it. He's the one who killed Juan. But you are the one who refused to testify. And your reason for not doing so was that you might end up incriminating yourself. You know, maybe from a U.S. perspective, this is a civil trial, so he can do that. That's because, Miss Andrews, I will give you one last chance. What exactly are you hiding that may incriminate you? I refuse to testify. There is no need for this court to continue any further. Mr. Matt Ungard's innocence has been clearly demonstrated. Is it over? Have we found the truth at last? What's wrong, Phoenix? Usually the real killer confesses his or her guilt. And there's like some dramatic freak out, and this feels so normal. And now that I think about it, this is the first time someone hasn't. Now then, I would like to hand down my verdict for Mr. Matt Ungard.
Objection!
Your Honor, the prosecution feels that it would be premature to pass down a verdict at this time. What? The reason is quite simple. This witness has yet to speak the absolute real truth. The absolute real truth? What are you... Witness. Don't you understand yet? Huh? I don't know who planted this silly idea in your head, but as long as you protect yourself through your silence, Matt Ungard will go free, and in his place, you will become the guilty party. That's a lie. I don't believe you. What? I was told if I spoke, then it would be all over, and Mr. Matt would never be declared guilty. What in the world is she talking about? Has she lost it? I can't speak about it. I'm too scared. It's Franziska von Karma. Don't you remember, Phoenix? Miss Andrews lives by gripping tightly onto the words of another, because she doesn't have the strength to believe in herself. Then right now, Miss Andrews is... Yesterday, she was tossed a lifesaver by Miss von Karma. Don't say a word, no matter what happens. If you do, Miss Matt Ungard will be acquitted. Miss Andrews undyingly believes in those words right now, and is clinging on to them. And what should we do? This is the first time I've ever come across anything like this. Miss Andrews has to be the killer, right? All we have to do now is get our not guilty. That is my only priority. It wasn't me, I'm begging you. Please believe me. I didn't kill Juan. Someone help me. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. The court can't continue like this, therefore I'd like to hear what you intend to do. Save. What I intend to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Right, I suggest you think very carefully about this. Think about what this witness did and what she did not do. Think about who is the real mastermind behind this crime. Who's the real mastermind? Isn't that obvious? There's no one else it could be except the woman crying right over there, right? Come now, what will you do? What kind of man are you, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Make her testify. You have to win a complete acquittal today. There's no way around that. But I can't bring myself to do it like this. Not when she's making a face like that. Miss Andrews, I would like to know what you're really hiding. Mr. Wright, are you sure you know what you're doing? Sure, Mr. Ungard would get an acquittal, but in his place, you would be found guilty. Is this how you really want this trial to end? Be quiet. How dare you? You're trying to trick me. That's enough. I commend you for trying, Mr. Edgeworth. However, it's clear that the defense's theory is the truth. You're wrong. Tap, tap, tap. What a shame. I had hoped things wouldn't come to this, however. What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? Miss Andrews, since you absolutely refuse to testify, it falls on my shoulders to disclose this to the court. Stop. Mr. Edgeworth? This witness, how should I put this? She has an illness. What? And because of this illness, she has tried to commit suicide in the past. This is remarkably cruel by today's standards. Please stop. No matter how much you want to hide it, it's no use. I have the evidence right here. That's the second part of the suicide report. The attempted suicide report. What will you do now, witness? You know what I'm about to do, don't you? I will now reveal to the court the true nature of the pitiful woman known as Adrian Andrews. Oh, cutthroat. Jeez. The secret of her dependent nature. Having other people know it scares her more than anything else in the world. Please stop, I beg you. If people find out, I'll... If you're going to say you would choose death, that is of no concern to me. Cold. Edgeworth, how can you be so cold, see? Not even just bashing, he's tearing into her. However, before you die, I will pull the truth from your still breathing lips. I will reach into hell and pull the truth out of your still screaming soul. No matter what I have to do. So will you tell the court yourself, or shall I? Either is fine with me. I'll talk, but please, help me. Nothing matters anymore. When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted. Honest. When I realized he was dead, that was when I formulated my plan. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made a dash back to Matt's room. And then I stabbed Juan's dead body with the knife and ripped off the body. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience. And that's why I ended up using the nickel samurai costume. Stabbed the body with the knife? But why would you do that? Isn't it obvious? To pin the blame on a certain person. A certain cowardly man. What do you mean by all this? It might take this court a little while to understand, but this is the truth. The real killer is Matt. That scumbag of a man. I'll never forgive him. He's trying to escape his guilt again, just like last time. So this is a new twist. She's introducing a new concept. Last time. So Miss Andrews stabbed the victim, Juan Carita, in the chest with the knife. However, she didn't do it with murder in mind. She did it with the intent of framing Matt on guard for the murder. And this is her crime. What? How is this possible? I mean, wasn't Miss Andrews supposed to be the real murderer? Mr. Wright, please get over your shock and commence the cross-examination. When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted. But you could tell from the state of the room was in that there must have been a fight. Are you telling the truth when you say that you did not know he was dead? He had a scarf tied around his neck, but that scarf is part of the Jammin' Ninja's costume, so I didn't think anything about it was strange. His head was also tilted down a bit, so I couldn't see his face that well. That's why I thought I'd wake him up, and we went to pour the juice. What was this plan you had? I knew right away the murderer was Matt. I knew because Juan, he was going to expose Matt's weakest weak point to the world. So Matt did this to stop Juan and silence him for good. That's when I thought I should forge some evidence and pin this crime on Matt. So the forged pieces of evidence were the knife and the button. The first thing that came to mind was to plant the knife. That was so you could get the knife, correct? The knife Matt used at dinner had his fingerprints all over it. I thought if I used that, then the police would certainly turn their eye towards him. Matt was napping with his costume on at the time. I slipped in, took the knife, and returned to the scene of the crime. And then I stabbed Juan's dead body with the knife and ripped off the button. So you're the one to stab the victim with that knife. It gives me goosebumps to think about it now. What a horrible thing I did. But at the time, I couldn't control my own body. It moved on its own. Then, when I stabbed Juan's dead body, I suddenly realized something. If I used the button somehow, I could make Matt look even more suspect. thought to rip one of the buttons off and then plant it in Mr. Ungard's Hakama. Yes, that's what I had planned to do. But things never go that smoothly, do they? Just when I finished and was returning, I had a bit of an inconvenience. An inconvenience? There was a woman with a camera at the ready, loitering in the hallway. I'm willing to bet my spikes it was Thada. There was also a woman with a ray gun at the ready, pacing back and forth. There's kind of like a pink stylized conch shell, and I believe that is something that's associated with the person who kidnapped Maya. The weird butler that's been zipped down the middle with a surgical scar. Well, Maya found another one of those cards where she's being kept, I think. That's Miss Old Bag. Already been caught and made into a big scoop for a certain weekly tabloid once. So I couldn't very well go out looking like myself and get caught again. And that's why I ended up using the nickel samurai costume. There are wheels within wheels in this one so far. You were the one who prepared that costume, weren't you? Yes. I took it from Global Studios. I also put it into Juan's guitar case the day before the award ceremony. You did this in preparation for the press conference, right? Yes, Juan wanted to wear that costume and hold a press conference in it. He was going to disclose Matt's big secret there. And what is this secret? That I don't know. Anyway, I thought that if I were to leave Juan's room in the nickel samurai costume, then people would think that Matt was the real murderer. I was very careful not to leave any fingerprints when I opened the guitar case. I absolutely did not want anyone to know about the costume. I think we've heard enough, and we'll put a save here just in case we get to a tricky spot. So, after that, you went back to Mr. Ungard's room and planted the button. Into Matt's Hakama? Yes. After that, I folded up the costume I was wearing and put it into a bag. Then I snuck it out of the hotel and got rid of it. My word. What does all this mean? Mr. Edgeworth, is it? The real criminal is Matt Ungard. Yesterday, that woman prosecutor sat me down for a talk. Francisca, huh? She said I should, under no circumstances, confess to what I had done. And if I kept quiet, then Matt would be found guilty for sure. I had no choice but to believe in her words. Long pause. What this witness has done is clearly unlawful. I mean, evidence tampering. Who does that unless they're a prosecutor, apparently? However, as long as her testimony stands, we can be certain she is not the real killer. Wait, Your Honor. The defense still... Right. Huh? It's pointless. At this point in time, it is not possible to indict Miss Andrews on anything. Yes, exactly. There isn't a single piece of evidence that points to her as the murderer. The cross-examination of this witness is over, and so is today's trial. You couldn't establish that the witness was the culprit. Please let it go, Mr. Wright. But... Mr. Edgeworth, please place Miss Andrews under arrest for further questioning. Understood, Your Honor. The prosecution will arrange for her detention immediately. That is all. Court is adjourned for today. Today's trial, it's over. And I didn't win an acquittal. Witness, would you mind if I asked you something? What is it? Before you leave court today, I wondered if I might look at one thing. The card in your hand. It's had my interest for quite some time now. What exactly is it? Oh, this? Mr. Wright had also asked about this. Although I didn't remember at the time, you asked me about it, Mr. Wright. I remember just now. I found it in the room on that day. The room? That day? Yes. I found this card when I discovered Juan's body. It was lying there right next to him. You found that card next to the victim's body. I suppose I must have unconsciously slipped it into my pocket. But it's not as if this card has any real relevance to Juan's murder, right? It was next to the body. A card with a weird emblem on it is next to the body. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the murder. Yeah, I guess not, but it's still a strange card if you ask me. Phoenix. As far as a clue to this case, I don't see why. Witness that card. Give it to me. Hurry. Edgeworth? Do you have any idea what you have stupidly yet inadvertently done? This? I can't believe you hid this from me all this time. I didn't mean to. Hey, Sherbet. Ember. What is this all about? I've never seen Edgeworth so emotional before. That card, what in the world is it, and what does it mean? To be continued. All right, we've hit a key point in episode 4. So I think that's where we'll wrap up tonight, and we'll pick up tomorrow. I want to thank everybody for joining us for the stream today. I hope you all had a good time. We did get to see quite a few kitties all at once. And they're all realizing that I might be wrapping up the stream, so there's going to be some activity pretty soon. So again, we'll be picking up with Phoenix Wright again tomorrow. Our goal for this week is to hit the end of episode 4, so that we'll have a clean pickup point the next time we start playing. I don't want to create more gaps in the play. It gets engaging, doesn't it, Hungry? As long as we don't get stuck on something, but it gets it'll wrap you up. We're going to try to finish up episode 4 this week, and then for next week, I'm going to try to interleave some various things. So we'll get a little Phoenix Wright. We'll probably get some more Chained Echoes. And then I'll try to weave some other stuff in there. Just want to get it to be a little more casual, as well as give us some breathers between these larger investments of time like Phoenix Wright. Again, with that, I hope everybody had a good time tonight. Thanks again to Hungry showing up after a good a pretty protracted absence, and even through sickness. And thank you again, and Tass for hanging out with us, one of our regulars there. But yeah, I will see you again tomorrow.